Welcome to the Sky Commander Flight Brief. It's your mission-ready podcast for drone pilot training and aerial insights across Canada.
From Transport Canada rules to real-world drone ops, we break it down, take you higher, and help you earn your wings. Because here at skycommander.ca, we don't just fly.
It hints there's more to it. It's a masterclass, a deeper level, maybe a philosophy or a community focus, perhaps.
It's definitely intriguing, sets them apart from just, a basic tips show. Skycommander.ca is the obvious next step. Precisely. If you're thinking about flying a drone in Canada, boom, this content is aimed right at you.
Powered by skycommander.ca.
The elite podcast for Canada's drone pilot. Okay, let's get started. We have a stack of research on the desk today that is, honestly a little painful for me to look at. I've been going through it, and it feels like a personal attack.
A personal attack. That's a strong start.
It is, because we're talking about the, let's call it the dark art of the professional drone showreel.
Ah, yes. I can see why that would feel personal.
It really does, because I'm looking at these guides. We've got material here on, curation psychology, industrial safety optics, export codecs, the whole 9 yards. And I'm realizing that probably 90% of the reels out there, including some I've definitely made in the past, are actively hurting the pilots who made them.
It's a harsh reality check, isn't it? You spend all this time, years, learning to fly. Yeah. You buy a $5,000 drone, get this absolutely incredible footage.
The bangers.
The bangers, exactly.
Oh.
And then you package it in a way that basically sends a message to high-paying clients that says, do not hire me.
That is the core hook today. We are unpacking why having amazing footage isn't enough. In fact, maybe why it's part of the problem. And we're talking about serious clients here. We're talking about utilities, infrastructure, high-end real estate developers, the people writing the big checks.
Yeah, these aren't folks looking for a cool 30-second Instagram post. They're looking for liability management. They're looking for risk reduction.
And the research highlights this massive shift in perspective that we have to make. We have to stop thinking like pilots who can edit and start thinking like operators who solve problems.
That's the whole ball game right there. Pilot versus operator.
But before we get into the how, I want to challenge you on something. The source material uses this analogy of a fishing net versus a filter.
Right.
It says most reels are fishing nets, and that's bad. But isn't the point of marketing to cast a wide net? I mean, don't I want to catch as many potential clients as I possibly can?
That is the intuition, yes. It's the logical first thought. You think, I need work. So you throw everything you've ever shot into the reel.
Everything.
You've got the wedding shot, you've got the FPV dive through the abandoned building, the construction site, the beautiful sunset over the ocean. You think, I'm showing versatility.
Exactly. Look at me. I can do it all.
But now you have to put yourself in the shoes of a risk manager at a major utility company or a project lead on a $1 billion infrastructure site.
Okay.
They don't want a generalist who dabbles. They see a fishing net. And it just looks messy. It looks desperate. To them, it looks like you haven't decided who you are yet.
So to them, my versatility actually reads as a lack of focus.
Precisely. A fishing net catches minnows.
Yeah.
It catches the guy who wants a photo of his roof for $200, and that's fine if that's your business.
Right.
But if you want to catch the whales, the big contracts, you need a filter. Your reel should be specifically designed to repel the low-budget, high-friction clients and actively filter in the people who value safety, process, and most importantly, repeatability.
So what you're saying is if my reel is kind of boring to a 15-year-old on TikTok, that might actually be a sign that I'm doing something right.
If it bores the adrenaline junkie,
Right.
but it absolutely fascinates the civil engineer, you have one. That is the entire definition of what the research calls an operator-grade reel.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm listening. So our mission for this deep dive is to deconstruct this operator-grade reel. We are not just talking about picking pretty shots.
Not at all.
We're going to get into the psychology of curation, how to kill your darlings, which I can tell you right now is going to be hard for a lot of people listening.
Oh, it's the hardest part.
We're going to talk about specific safety optics, multi-platform export strategies, and then the actual marketing engine that gets the reel seen by the right people.
It's a full ecosystem. It's not just about making a video file and throwing it on YouTube.
Okay, let's start at the beginning then. Let's define the goal. You mentioned this idea in the notes of the silent sales rep.
Yes. So think about the logistics of selling, especially for these big B2B contracts. When you send your reel to a potential client, you are almost never in the room with them when they watch it.
Right. It's in an email. They click a link.
Exactly. You're not there to provide commentary. You can't lean over and say, oh, for that shot, I was actually totally safe. I had a visual observer, or don't worry, I had permission for that, or I used a spotter there.
The video has to do all the talking for you.
The reel speaks for you. And the buyer, specifically that corporate or industrial buyer, has one brutal, unspoken question in their head. And it is not, how cinematic is this?
So what is it?
The question is, if I hire you, will this be safe, smooth, and usable? Or am I going to have to babysit you?
Oof. Do I have to babysit you? That hits hard.
It does. But that is the absolute reality of it. They are not looking for art. They are looking for risk reduction. So, to answer that question effectively, we need to realize that one single video file isn't enough.
Okay.
The source material we've got here outlines a 3-tier asset strategy.
I see that. Usually people just have the one, main reel they stick on YouTube and call it a day. But this calls for 3 distinct tiers. What's tier A?
Tier A is the master reel. This is your flagship. It lives on your website, your primary YouTube channel. It's typically 60 to 90 seconds long.
Okay, let's pause there. Why the cap at 90 seconds? I have definitely seen reels that are 3, even 4 minutes long.
And did you watch all 4 minutes?
Probably not.
Exactly. Look, if you can't prove that you are a competent professional in 90 seconds, you can't prove it in 4 minutes. A 4-minute reel just screams, I don't know how to edit my own work. The master reel is formatted in 16 on my mind landscape, and its one and only purpose is to establish credibility.
Got it. Tier A is credibility. What about tier B?
Tier B is your social cutdowns. These are specifically for stopping the scroll on platforms like LinkedIn, Instagram, maybe even TikTok, if that's your market.
Right.
We're talking 20 to 30 seconds max. And critically, these are formatted for the device they're viewed on. So vertical, 9 point by 0.16 or square 1 point by 1.1.
I really want to dig into that later because the guide here mentions something really important. You can't just crop the master reel for this.
You absolutely cannot. It's a disaster. It ruins the composition. It cuts off the action. We'll get into the reframing technique in the technical section, but it requires a fundamentally different edit.
Okay. And tier C. This is the one I think most people, myself included, have completely skipped.
Tier C is the cold outreach preview. This is super short, 15 to 25 seconds. It is designed from the ground up to be friction-free.
Friction-free.
Yeah. It's what you send in a cold email to get someone to actually reply.
Yeah.
It needs to load instantly, have no ads, no login required. It's a teaser.
So you're definitely not sending the big 4K master file as an email attachment.
Never. That is the absolute quickest way to get your email blocked by a corporate firewall or sent straight to spam. If you attach a 200 megabyte video file to a cold email, you have failed before they even opened the message.
Okay, so we have our 3 tiers. Now let's get into the messy part, the part I'm dreading, picking the clips. Part 1 here is the psychology of curation, and the subtitle is Competence over Spectacle.
This is where the ego takes a beating.
I bet. Because as pilots, as creators, we love the shots that were hard to get.
We do. We remember the struggle. We think, oh, for that one, I had to hike 3 miles, or the wind was gusting at 20 knots that day, or man, I had to thread the needle through those trees to get that. We value the effort.
For sure.
The client does not care about your effort. They only value the result and whether that result looks safe and repeatable.
So to do that, the source material introduces this concept of 3 signal layers. We have to look at our footage through these layers to filter it.
Right. So layer A is safety and control signals. This is all about what we're calling the calm pilot vibe.
The calm pilot vibe. I like that.
When a buyer watches your footage, does the motion feel smooth, controlled, and intentional? Or does it feel floaty?
Okay, define floaty for us, because I think some people might mistake floaty for smooth.
That's a great point. Floaty is when the drone drifts slightly after a move because the pilot isn't actively managing the inertia. It's when the stop isn't crisp. Or, the big one, the yaw is twitchy.
Oh, yeah.
You see the horizon just jerking left and right by a few pixels because they're trying to adjust their course mid-flight. It signals that you are reacting to the drone, not commanding it. A pro's footage feels like it's on a dolly track in the sky. It's deliberate.
And the biggest test in layer A, according to this, is what's called the is that allowed test.
The is that allowed test. This is dead. This is so crucial. If a non-pilot, your friend, your spouse, watches a clip and their first question is, wait, are you allowed to do that? You cut the clip.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate here. What if I am allowed? What if I have a waiver to fly over a crowd? Or I have a specific authorization to fly at night in a restricted zone, and I get an amazing shot from it. Why shouldn't I show that? It proves I can get the waiver. It proves I can handle complex operations.
That is the logical pilot brain speaking. And it's a perfectly valid thought. But you have to switch over to the buyer's reptilian brain.
The reptilian brain.
Yeah, the part that's just looking for danger.
No.
When they see a drone flying over a crowd of people, their first instinct is not, oh, he must have a waiver for that. Their first instinct is liability. Full stop.
They flinch.
They flinch. You are forcing them to do extra mental work to trust you. You're forcing them to assume you have all your paperwork in order.
Yeah.
And in a stack of 50 other operator reels, they are not going to do that work. They will just move on to the next person who has a nice, safe, boring shot of a bridge.
So it's all about optics, not just legality.
It is entirely about optics. The source material suggests you run every single clip through the 3-audience test.
What's that?
Imagine 3 people are sitting on a couch watching your reel. One is a regulator from the FAA or Transport Canada. One is a corporate risk manager with an insurance policy in their hand. And the third is a member of the general public who kind of hates drones and thinks they're creepy.
The dreaded drone hater demographic. That is a tough audience to please.
It is. But if a member of the public watches your reel and thinks, that looks like an invasion of privacy or that looks dangerous, then a corporate brand cannot afford to hire you. They are terrified of the public backlash from being associated with a pilot who looks reckless.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So that's layer A, safety. What is layer B?
Layer B is industry understanding. This is where you prove you're not just a pilot, you're a partner. You're showing that you know what actually matters to the specific client you're targeting.
Give me an example of that.
Okay, let's stick with the utility company pitch. A novice pilot thinks, I know, I'll fly low and fast right down the power lines to show my speed and how exciting it is. That's a video game shot.
Right, it looks cool.
It looks cool to another FPV pilot. An operator knows that the client doesn't care about cool. The client needs what's called standoff discipline.
Standoff discipline.
It means holding a perfectly steady, locked-off hover at a safe distance from the power line and then using the zoom lens, maybe a 7x or a 14x zoom, to get a clear shot of the insulator or the cotter pin. It's not exciting to watch, it's surgical.
So the boring shot of the insulator is actually the money shot for that client.
It's the whole contract right there.
Yeah.
Because it shows you understand the mission. The mission isn't fly fast. The mission is gather critical data without crashing into our multi-million-dollar asset.
That's a huge shift in thinking. And layer C...
Layer C is composition.
Yeah.
And this source makes a very, very harsh point here. It says, close is not composition.
Meaning what, exactly?
A lot of new pilots think that if they get physically close to the subject, it automatically makes it a better shot. Look how close I got to that window. Or I was only 2 feet from the sign. But usually that just distorts the image because of the wide-angle lens, and more importantly, it looks dangerous.
Right.
True composition is about using parallax, having foreground objects move at a different speed than the background to create a sense of depth. It's about using leading lines in the road or a building to draw the viewer's eye. It's about light discipline, shooting during golden hour. If you're relying on just being close for impact, you're probably just scaring the client.
So we have these 3 layers: safety, industry understanding, and composition. But how do we actually decide which clips make the cut? Do we just go by our gut feeling?
No, and that's the trap. Your gut feeling lies to you. It's attached to the memory of the flight. The source material suggests a ruthless, unemotional scoring system, a 15-point scale.
Okay, walk us through the math on that.
You take every potential clip and you rate it from 0 to 5 on 3 things. First, control and safety. How smooth is it? Does it look risky? Second, industry value. Does this shot actually solve a problem for my target client? And third, cinematic quality. How good does it look? Composition, lighting, color.
So 3 scores, each out of 5. And the hard rule here...
The hard rule is this. Any clip that scores a 0, a 1, or a 2 in that first category, safety, is rejected immediately. I don't care what it scores in the other 2.
Wait, even if it's a perfect 5 out of 5 on cinematic quality, the most beautiful sunset shot you have ever captured in your life?
Gone. If the horizon is twitchy or you're flying sideways over a busy road or just feels reckless, it's out.
That seems extreme. Can't just one risky-looking banger help the energy of the reel? Just to keep them awake?
No, it poisons the well. The source material uses the term identity dilution.
Identity dilution.
Yeah, you have 5 clips in a row that scream professional, safe industrial operator, and then you throw in 1 clip that screams YouTube adrenaline junkie. The client gets confused about who you are. And in sales, confusion always leads to no. Good clips kill great reels.
Good clips kill great reels. That's a great line. Ruthless. But I can see why it's necessary. Now, speaking of strict rules, let's talk about compliance. This is a big one, especially for our listeners in the US and Canada. There's some locks we need to talk about.
Yes, the 3 locks of compliance. Think of these as the absolute gatekeepers. If a clip doesn't pass through all 3 of these locks, it doesn't leave your hard drive and it certainly doesn't go in your reel.
All right, what's lock number 1?
Lock 1 is flight legality. This obviously implies you have your Part 107 in the US or your Advanced Ops Cert under Part 9X in Canada. But it's not just about having the license. It's about showing compliance with current regulations.
And the source specifically calls out remote ID here.
Right. In the US, remote ID enforcement really became the standard after March 16, 2024. Before that, it was a bit of a gray area for some operators. Now, if you're showing commercial work that looks recent, savvy clients, especially in infrastructure and government work, are actively looking for signs of compliance.
What does a sign of compliance even look like in a video? You can't see the remote ID broadcast.
No, but it's often about what you don't see. You don't see flights over moving vehicles on a highway without clear evidence of a closed set. You don't see sustained flight over open-air assemblies of people. If you show those things in a reel you made in 2025, you are basically advertising that you're not compliant with the modern rule set.
Got it. It's about not showing things that are now clearly prohibited. Okay, and lock number 2.
Lock 2 is permission and privacy. This is massive. And it's becoming more important every day, especially in places like Canada, where the privacy guidance is very explicit.
So we're talking about blurring faces.
Blurring faces and blurring license plates.
Now, is that really necessary for a showreel? I mean, it feels like something you do for a news broadcast. It seems like a lot of extra work.
It is absolutely necessary. And it's not just about the law. If you are using this reel to get hired by a large corporation, you are effectively a publisher for their brand. If you show a clear license plate or an identifiable face of a member of the public, you are demonstrating a lack of data privacy protocols. Even if the law in your specific state is loose on it, corporate policy is almost always tight. Why risk it?
That's a really good point. And I guess a clean professional blur looks like an intentional feature, not like you're trying to hide a mistake.
Exactly. It shows you know how to redact sensitive data. That's a skill they're willing to pay for.
And lock number 3.
Lock 3 is usage rights. This is the one that can get you in legal trouble. Do you actually have the right to use the footage in your own marketing?
Wait, what do you mean I shot it?
Just because you were the pilot on the job doesn't automatically mean you own the footage for your own promotional use. Your contract with the original client is what governs that. Some contracts, especially work for hire, state that they own 100% of the copyright.
So you have to check your contracts.
You have to check every contract. And the music, do you have the proper sync license for web use? Or did you just rip it from a movie soundtrack? The mnemonic they use in the guide is MRA. Music, releases, and authority. Check those 3 before you even think about publishing.
MRA, music, releases, authority. Good. Okay, so we've curated our clips, we've scored them, we've thrown out all the unsafe ones, we've blurred the license plates. Now we have a pile of great compliant footage. How do we assemble it? Let's get into part 2, structure and rhythm.
This is where we go from a collection of clips to a story. A reel isn't a montage, it's a narrative. And frankly, that 45 to 90 seconds is all the time you have to tell it.
Let's break down the timeline. The sources we've got give a very specific 4-part structure.
Yeah, it breaks down to 4 chapters. Chapter 1 is the hook. This is from 0 to about 7 seconds.
What's the number 1 rule for the hook?
Stop the scroll. And you do that with immediate lane clarity. If your reel is about construction, progress monitoring, the very first shot in the first second better be a compelling shot of a construction site. No slow phase from black, no drone waking up on the launch pad shots.
I see this all the time. The prop start shot.
It's a waste of time. And the most controversial rule for the hook, absolutely no logos.
Whoa, hold on a second. No logos. I paid a graphic designer good money for my animated logo intro. I want people to know my brand.
They don't care about your brand yet.
Yeah.
In second one, they haven't even decided if you're worth watching for another 5 seconds. Branding is earned. It's not a right. If you waste the first 5 seconds of your reel on a spinning animated logo, they've already scrolled past. You haven't given them a single reason to stay.
So show the work first. Brand yourself at the end.
Show the work first. Prove you're worth their time. Then, and only then, can you drop your logo at the end.
That makes a lot of sense, even if it does hurt my pride a little bit. Earn the attention first.
Oh.
Okay, what comes after the hook?
Chapter 2 is range. This is roughly from the 20 to 35-second mark. Here, you want to prove your breadth of experience without looking chaotic or unfocused.
So how do you do that?
You show that you can maintain a consistent framing style and quality across different environments. Maybe you cut from a snow-covered industrial site to a desert solar farm to an urban rooftop inspection. But the visual language, the smoothness of the camera moves, remains consistent. It shows you can deliver results anywhere.
Okay. And chapter 3, this is my favorite concept in the whole reading.
Chapter 3 is depth. And this is, without a doubt, the most critical concept for any kind of industrial or inspection work. This is what gets you hired.
Explain depth. What is it?
Most reels, 99% of them, act like a slideshow of random disconnected images. Here's a bridge. Okay, now here's a house. Now here's a cell tower. Depth means showing a short sequence of a single asset to prove you understand the workflow of a mission, not just how to get one pretty picture. We call it the wide mid-detail stack.
Can you give us a concrete example of that? Paint the picture for us.
Absolutely. Imagine you're pitching for a cell tower inspection contract. Shot 1 in this sequence is the wide shot. You do a slow, perfect orbit of the entire tower structure. This shows context, access routes, the overall condition, the environment. Shot 2 is the mid shot. You cut to a steady, locked-off hover showing the main antenna array and its mounting brackets. Shot 3 is the detail shot. You cut to a tight, zoomed-in view of a specific bolt connection or a possibly rusted cable termination point.
So in the space of, 10 or 12 seconds, you've told a complete inspection story?
Exactly. You are proving that you understand the full mission. You are not just a guy who got one lucky, pretty shot. You are an operator who can systematically document an asset from macro to micro. That 3-shot sequence is what separates the pros from the hobbyists 100% of the time.
That is so powerful. And finally, Chapter 4, the reel.
Chapter 4 is the signature. This is the last 8 to 15 seconds. This is your closer. Put your single best, most visually stunning, safest you shot here. Leave them with a feeling of premium quality and confidence.
Now let's talk about the glue that holds all this together, the music and the editing pace. The source material talks about something called editing to prediction. What is that?
This is a little bit of like pop neuroscience. The human brain loves to recognize and predict patterns. Amateur editors often just cut on every single snare drum hit, bam, 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 bam. It's robotic. And after about 15 seconds, it gets exhausting to watch.
Yeah, it feels like a bad music video from 2010.
Right. Editing to prediction is about establishing a clear pulse, a heartbeat for the edit, and then letting the viewer settle into it. What you want to do is create a beat map of your song. Listen to it and mark the start of new musical phrases, the big cymbal crashes, the swells, not just every single drum hit. You edit to the musical structure, not just the beat.
And the pacing. I like the car analogy you use. Gear shifting.
Yeah. Think of your edits pacing like a manual transmission in a car. Gear 1 is calm confidence. These are your long takes, your slow, deliberate movements. This is perfect for industrial work, safety-focused shots. Gear 2 is professional momentum. The cuts are a bit faster, the movement's a bit more dynamic, great for showing construction progress or real estate tours. Gear 3 is for high-energy bursts. These are quick cuts, fast motion. You only use Gear 3 for the first 5 seconds, for the hook, to grab their attention.
So the mistake is staying in Gear 3 for the whole reel.
Never. That is the classic hype reel mistake. If you stay in Gear 3, you just look frantic and out of control. Remember what we said. Risk-averse clients want calm. As the source says, calm is premium.
What about the music choice itself? I feel like so many people go for that aggressive dubstep, Monster energy drink vibe.
And that absolutely terrifies the risk manager at the utility company. You want something that has a driving beat but is tonally neutral. Think modern corporate or ambient electronic or cinematic uplifting. It should support the visuals, not overpower them. If the music is the most memorable thing about your reel, you've chosen the wrong track.
That's a great rule of thumb. Okay, moving on to part 3. The silent sales rep. This is all about the use of overlays and data on screen.
This is a huge, huge differentiator.
Why do overlays matter so much? I mean, shouldn't the footage just speak for itself? If I have a great shot of a roof inspection, isn't that enough?
In an ideal world, maybe. But in the real world we live in, many, many people watch videos on LinkedIn or in their email with the sound off. And more importantly, overlays reduce what's called buyer uncertainty.
Buyer uncertainty.
Yeah. When a buyer sees a random context-free shot of a construction site, they might think, oh, that's a cool shot. But they don't know why you took it. Was it a paid job? Was it just a hobby flight you did on a weekend? Overlays change the entire narrative from look at this cool shot I got to here's the mission we performed and here was the outcome.
So how do we write these overlays? Because I've seen some really bad ones. Epic View 4K or DJI Mavic 3 sign.
Oh, please don't do that. Never list your gear. The framework the research suggests is problem, place, proof.
Problem, place, proof. Break that down for us.
Every title you put on screen should clearly answer at least two of those three things. So instead of a lazy title like construction site, which is vague, you write construction progress monitoring. That's the problem. Monthly mapping project. That's the proof.
Oh, monthly mapping. I like that a lot. It implies you have a recurring contract with a client.
Exactly. It tells me you're reliable enough that someone hired you to show up every single month. Or instead of just power lines, you write utility corridor inspection problem, 40 kilometers right-of-way survey, proof. The phrase 40-kilometer corridor tells me you can handle scale. You're not just flying in your backyard, you're managing a real logistics operation.
So it's like a caption stack. Line 1 is the mission type. Line 2 is the scope or the cadence.
Simple, clean, readable, professional.
And what about the look of it? The font. I'm assuming we're not using Comic Sans for this.
Please, no. Keep it incredibly clean. A simple sans serif font. Helvetica, Roboto, Montserrat are all great choices. White text, maybe with a very subtle 2 or 3 pixel drop shadow, just to help it separate from a bright sky. Do not use grunge fonts, handwritten scripts, or anything flashy. This is an engineering document, not a surf log.
And what should we specifically avoid writing, aside from Epic View?
You need to avoid what the guide calls pilot ego. Things like insane shot, crazy close, nailed it. The client expects you to nail it. That's what they're paying you for. You don't get extra points for just doing your job.
And the guide also mentions avoiding liability traps.
This is a big one. Never, ever write zero risk on your reel. There is no such thing as zero risk in aviation. If you write that, a professional safety officer knows you are either lying or you're dangerously naive. Either way, they're not hiring you. Also, avoid vague, boastful claims like certified for everything. Just state your actual certifications if you must.
And I'm assuming we shouldn't put the client's secret facility address on the screen, 123 Secret Government Lab Lane.
Please don't. No specific addresses, no confidential facility names. Use generalized descriptors. Industrial site, Midwest, or utility corridor, Alberta. You have to protect your client's security optics. If you show the world exactly where their sensitive facility is, you've broken their trust before they've even hired you.
Okay, that is all crystal clear. So we've built the reel, we structured it, we've added these smart professional overlays. Now we have to actually get it out into the world. Part 4 is technical delivery, the operator-grade export strategy.
This is where so many good reels go to die.
Really? In the export settings?
Absolutely. You spend weeks curating and editing, and then you click the wrong export preset, and it comes out looking soft, the colors are washed out, or the text gets cut off on a phone. It's heartbreaking.
So let's start with the workflow. The source material talks about a master timeline concept.
Right. Don't reinvent the wheel every single time you need a new version. Build one master timeline in a standard 16:9, landscape aspect ratio. But, and this is the absolute key in your editing software, turn your title safe or center 60% overlay guide.
Explain the center 60% idea.
You want to frame your main subject and all of your text so that they sit comfortably in the middle 60% of the screen. Why? Because when you need to make the vertical version for TikTok or Instagram Reels, you are going to be cropping the sides off. If your text goes from edge to edge in the landscape version, it gets completely chopped off in the vertical version.
So you're planning for the crop from the very beginning. You're shooting for the crop.
You are composing for the crop, exactly. It will save you hours and hours of rework later.
Now, resolution. There is a really controversial take in this research. It says 1080p often beats 4K. Explain that.
It sounds completely backwards, I know. We all shoot in 4K or 5K or even 8K now. But for final delivery, especially for streaming on platforms like YouTube or LinkedIn, bitrate is king, not resolution.
Break down the bitrate issue for us.
If you upload a massive 4K video file, the platform's compression algorithm attacks it aggressively to save bandwidth. If the bitrate of your file isn't high enough for that resolution, you get what's called macro blocking, those ugly, chunky digital squares, especially in areas like a clear blue sky or in water.
I've seen that. It looks awful.
It does. A crisp, high bitrate 1080p file often survives that compression process much, much better than a bitrate-starved 4K file. The end result for the viewer is actually a cleaner image.
So we should focus on the clarity of the image, not just the pixel count.
Correct. For web delivery, a clean 1080p render at around 15 to 20 megabits per second, or mbps, is the absolute gold standard for online playback.
What about the codecs? You see H.264 versus H.265. What's the play?
H.264 is the safest bet for maximum compatibility. H.265, or HEVC, is more efficient, creates smaller files, but it can sometimes cause playback glitches on older devices or in certain web browsers. For a professional reel that needs to work everywhere for everyone, stick to a standard H.264.mp4 file.
Okay, now let's talk about the social cuts tier B, the vertical stuff. The guide says in big, bold letters, re-edit, don't just crop.
A simple center crop is lazy, and it usually looks terrible. You might have a beautiful wide landscape shot, but when you just punch into the middle of it, you lose all the context. It becomes a blurry, uncomposed mess.
So what's the solution? You can't reshoot it.
You swap the shot. If that wide establishing shot doesn't work vertically, take it out and swap it for a top-down shot. Top-down or bird's-eye view shots look amazing on phones because they fill the vertical frame naturally and create compelling patterns.
That's a great practical tip. Tailor the actual footage to the canvas you're delivering on.
And you have to watch out for your motion. If you have a car driving left to right across a wide 16.9 screen, it looks epic. It takes time to cross the frame. On a narrow phone screen, it zips past in half a second. It's jarring and unsatisfying. For vertical, you want to favor movements that come toward or away from the camera, or movements that are vertical in nature.
Let's talk about the email-safe protocol for Tier C. We mentioned this earlier, no attachments. So what do we actually send to a prospect?
You have to play what the guide calls the friction game. Your goal is zero friction between them receiving the email and them seeing your work. The rule to follow is the 2-link maximum.
2 links. What are they?
Link number 1 is a 15-second high-impact teaser video hosted on Vimeo or as a YouTube unlisted link. In the email, you say, here's a 15-second preview of our recent utility inspection work. Link number 2 goes to your full portfolio or your website. You say, if you'd like to see the full scope of our capabilities, you can find our master reel here.
Why the separate 15-second teaser? Why not just send them to the main reel?
Because it's a very low commitment ask for a busy executive. Asking them to watch a 90-second video feels like work. Asking them to watch 15 seconds feels like a quick glance. Once they watch that 15-second teaser and see the professional quality in the on-screen text, they're hooked. They are much more likely to then click the second link to see the full reel.
That's smart. It's a psychological trick. You get your foot in the door with a small ask.
Exactly. You are respecting their time, and that simple act, in and of itself, signals professionalism.
Okay, we are in the home stretch now. Part 5, the marketing engine. You said something really important earlier, that the reel is not the offer.
No, absolutely not. The reel proves your fitness for the job, but it doesn't close the deal. You need what the research calls an ideal buyer loop. Traffic from your marketing efforts leads them to your proof, which is the reel, which then leads to a capture mechanism, which finally leads to your follow-up process.
So where do we strategically place this reel to get that initial traffic?
On your website, it needs to be above the fold on your homepage. Do not bury it on a portfolio page that's 3 clicks deep into your site. Put a micro reel or the full master reel right next to your Work With Me button or your main contact form.
And what about on LinkedIn? It's the key B2B platform.
Use the featured section on your profile. It's basically a mini sales page right at the top. So many people waste their banner image on just a pretty picture of a drone. Use the featured section to pin your best industry-specific reel.
And when we're responding to RFPs, requests for proposals, how do we use it there?
This is where you change your language. You label your reels as evidence. Don't just send a link and say, here's my video. In the RFP response document, you create a section called Evidence of Prior Work, and you list representative work reel, utility corridor inspections. It sounds like you're submitting evidence in a court case. It builds immense trust and authority.
I really like this idea from the research of the proof pack.
Yes, this is next level. Don't just send a video link in your follow-up email. You send a proof pack. You pair the real link with a one-page capability statement PDF and a sample deliverable.
What do you mean by a sample deliverable?
A one-page PDF that shows the output of your work. Maybe it's a sample thermal inspection report showing clear isotherms on a solar panel. Maybe it's an annotated orthomosaic map with volumetric calculations. You have to show them the data. Remember, clients don't buy drone flights, they buy the data that those flights produce. If your reel shows the cool flight and your attached PDF shows the valuable data, you have closed the entire loop for them.
And finally, this all needs a rhythm. You can't just do this once a year and forget about it.
The engine runs on rhythm, not on inspiration. The guide suggests a simple weekly and monthly cadence. Weekly. One LinkedIn post, maybe a short story about a recent job, paired with a link to the relevant reel. 2 targeted outreach emails using your Tier C teaser. And monthly, the one-clip swap.
Just 1 clip a month.
Just one. Find the single weakest clip in your master reel, the one you're least proud of, the one that scored lowest on your 15-point scale, and you replace it with the best new thing you shot this month.
That seems incredibly manageable.
It takes 20 minutes. But if you do that every single month, by the end of the year, you have a completely new, higher quality, more current reel without the massive stress of rebuilding the whole thing from scratch.
That is so actionable. Okay, we have covered a massive amount of ground here. From the deep psychology of safety signals all the way down to the math of video byte rates. Before we wrap, I want to leave our listeners with the challenge. The source material calls it the Wingman Challenge.
This is the ultimate stress test for any show reel. It's tough.
Okay, here it is. Pick one specific lane you want to target, let's say construction, and build 3 outputs today, not tomorrow, today. 1, a 60-second master reel. 2, a 25-second vertical micro reel. And 3, a 15-second email teaser.
And here's the test. This is the hard part. Once you've exported them, take your smartphone, go outside, stand in the bright sunlight, turn the volume on your phone all the way off, and watch your reels.
Why do it in the bright sunlight?
Because that's where your client is. They're on a noisy job site, squinting at their phone during a lunch break. That is the real-world viewing condition.
And why muted?
Because they're probably in a meeting or in a noisy truck cab, or they just don't watch videos with sound. If your video relies on the epic music to be exciting, you fail. If your on-screen text is too small or has too little contrast to be read in the glare, you fail. If the story doesn't make any sense without the sound effects and the whooshes, you fail.
That is a brutally effective test.
It is. But if your reel passes the sunlight mute test, then you know you have a genuine operator-grade asset that works in the real world.
That is fantastic. I really hope everyone listening actually goes out and tries that. To wrap this all up, what is the one final thought you want to leave them with?
It all comes back to trust. A great show reel doesn't just prove you can fly. It proves that you are safe to hire, that you're easy to trust, and that you fundamentally understand the client's world. And you have to remember the golden rule from this research. Your reel is a promise. Do not promise what you cannot repeat.
Do not promise what you cannot repeat. That is so powerful. If you show that 1 in a million shot that took you 3 days of waiting for perfect weather and a special waiver you'll probably never get again, you're just setting yourself up for failure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sell your standard, not your miracle.
That's a wrap on today's mission, Commander. See above, go beyond, get ahead. For more training, tools, and intel, head to skycommander.ca. If you learned something new, share it, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star debrief.